opportunity to launch a bit of a battle along the way, says the Francis Tijoux rider, on this first stage, in order to have that leader's jersey with the team. Then it makes life easier for the second phase of it on Sunday. The second stage, the roads are very tricky. It's proper climbing, so it's better, if you possibly can, to have the leader's jersey as soon as the first day. Well, you don't give us a wave off, and underway indeed. 152.7 kilometres from Les Ganets de Meur to the Croix Valmer, a looping stage to the interior, and as you can see, absolutely glorious conditions as well. Bright sunshine, a little bit of a nip in the air, so some winter warmers on the arms in particular, especially for the Mediterranean type rider. Yes, rollout it was. Good turnout for this as well. Jonathan Tiernan-Locke and Endurance Racing, sadly not here. But not long before the breakaway started to stretch itself here. Yeah, Rudy Kowalski saying, took control right at the beginning. I'm a rider who likes to attack, and I wanted to be in that breakaway today. I made 2 attempts, and 2 other riders finally went with me, he says. And Gerard, also one of those, said we succeeded, we were cooperating well, and the escape, well, it built up. It certainly did. They were over 6 minutes at one point on the day. Arnaud Girard from Francis Tijoux, good time trialist as well. Sort of man you need to set a proper rhythm. Here wearing number 125, the grey outfit in the centre of this trio here. Yes, ran here in 2012 and went well in the Plumerec Morbihan as well, finished 8th in that. So the rest of them were trying their best to, well, wind them in, as you might expect. But Saxo-Tinkoff were leading most of the challenge, courtesy or on behalf of Nikos Roche. Nico's spent a lot of time with French teams, has finally decided to take the Bjarne Riis handshake, and he's gone off to Saxo-Tinkoff, and they were working properly out front for him. Roman Krusje on board, as well as Michael Rogers, Chris Anker Sorensen as well. So proper team being sent here by Saxo-Tinkoff, and that's not to diminish the powers of some of the other teams that have shown up here. Blanco as well in particular sent a very strong outfit, and Francis Tijoux always wanting to hit hard and high when it comes to French races, of which of course this is one. So Kowalski, Baquet and Girard out there. Well, this is Kowalski saying, talking about the gap of 3 minutes and 20 at 90 kilometres. We said we wanted to go until the end, so we pushed hard to try and make it for the finish. But we understood quite early on that the big teams just wanted to come back on us before that climb of Gassin. And we passed Saint-Maxime, close to Saint-Tropez, and gap just fell down a little bit, and they were back on us quite early. Girard saying, well, we thought we could go until the end, but the gap was actually maxed out around about 8 minutes, but then it just went really fast, and I just didn't understand why they came back on us so early to launch the peloton battle, or all together with 50k to go. It's a strange one. We tried to roll the dice, and then the peloton came back on us, and I said to myself, it's not finished on this stage. It's 150 kilometres long, and it remained about 45 kilometres, so I stayed at the front of the pack. Well, in the end, there were a number of rolling attacks off the nose of the peloton here. As you can see, pace extraordinarily high, and then we settled down with a pack of riders, one of whom only was not French. So the Breton Schuller boys were here, the Soy sons were involved. Blanco had set Martin Chilinghi up there, a good time trialist. Tour of California in 2012 went well there, and 9th in his nationals as well back home in Holland. So they may not have been talking to him, but the Dutchman was very much part of this rolling effort here. They grouped on the climb of the Gassin, and it doesn't look like much of a climb, and in fact compared to the second day, possibly you might be absolutely right in that assumption. But then once we got to the finish line, or indeed the first passage of it, here is that climb that we were talking about, Gassin. It's kind of rolling climb, if you like, sort of Welsh foothills. If you're in Great Britain, you'll see this kind of thing for in and around the Yorkshire Dales, that sort of thing, when the Tour de France starts there in 2014. Thought I'd get that one in. Yes, just recently been announced, of course, that the Giro d'Italia will be starting in Belfast in the same year. So very much a British and Northern Irish and indeed Southern Ireland profile to two of the major tours that are coming up. So it all started to fracture down just a little bit. There was a lot of hit and hoping going on out there, and AG2 are part of that vanguard. But yes, it really did come down to the business end of the day when, well, you started to get some of the major names coming to the fore. Now, Blanco sent a decent team. We mentioned that. AG2 are, well, they have a lot of credit to their name. Sylvain Georges, one of their men. Genier, I beg your pardon, from Francis Dijer. And Europe Cars, Anthony Charteau. They have come here with Thomas Vogler, so they, they know what is required. Let's put it that way. Some proper tests then as they come up to this final passage here. It's a tight right-hander, left-hander, I beg your pardon, right as we look at him, that they've got to take right at the very end, but at least they get a preview of it, and it's that nasty little testy climb that really does sort out the men from the boys along the way. There was Roman Zingerle giving it plenty through the vineyard areas in this part of the world. It is glorious, incidentally. Look at that sky, not bad for February. So here we go then. Proper push off the front being made. Laurence Tendam, the Wolfman, part of that. There he is. Yeah, hasn't quite grown his full beard just yet. Sylvain Georges from AG2R, Alexander Genier, Anthony Charteau from Team Europe Car. We mentioned Tommy Vogler, winner here incidentally in 2011, and Thomas Vaborzic of Pomme Marseille. So the head of the course started to look a little bit handy, and as a result it was well, grab back time, I think you might say, for the main bunch here. They did not want the likes of Tendam, Georges, Charteau to get off the leash here, and as a result they started sending satellite riders up the road to try and wind them in. Jocelyn, Francis Dijer, and Predliger as well. Priedler, I beg your pardon, the Austrian, went well in the Tour of Switzerland, you might remember, and 16th in the Etoile Bessèges last year, this year. So sort of starting off the season as many did at the Etoile. A number have that as part of their palmares, but it was looking rather good for these boys up front. So real quality will out in that 6 men, including Jocelyn and Priedler, who made the bridge, taking it to 7. Looks like there was one missing at that point. So passing over that finish line and giving themselves that proper preview that we told you about. So time for the breakers to have their bubble popped, if you like, and it was a proper push going on. I've got to tell you, BMC here, Tor Ushoft, who had a terrible virus last year, all kind of muscle aches and that kind of thing. Yeah, well, he being worked very hard, and Daniel Oss and Manuel Quinziato in particular were really rolling for him, taking plenty of punches on these nasty little climbs, and as a result it really was starting to come down to what looked like it may well be a bunch finish. Didn't happen the full catch until very, very close to the end, but when it did, well, we knew that these guys were probably in trouble. Well, it is 2 very different days. This one's sort of rolling hills and then proper mountains on day 2. Final circuit then of 6 kilometers, and as you can see, the escapee's not that far away from the chasers here. Breton Schuller, nice to see them. Roubaix Lille Metropole, as well as Team Rally also involved here, and good as well to see this proper bit of ambition being shown by the likes of Roman Zingerle and Sylvain Georges. Zingerle again here, the boy from Cofidis. And look at this push for the line. Well, it was a bit of a snapshot, wasn't it? But Tor Hushoft it was that took it on the line, and just ahead of Zingerle, so heartbreak for him who'd been out there. And after Vichot finishing in 3rd place, it was tight. And Sam Dam, the little man, Samuel Dumoulin, in 4th place. Yeah, it was a long old day, he says. You know, a first stage win for me, and I'm pleased about that. Had to push hard, and we caught that group late on, tried to attack before the climb and Gassan, but it didn't work. Arriving on the circuit were 5 to 6 riders in front of me, he says, and we just had to work together. And unfortunately, that didn't work out, but eventually for him it paid off. This is Thomas Vaburier from La Palme, Marseille, and yeah, talking about how today shaped up. Hushovd clearly delighted by his victory on the day. So there you are, the escapees nullified. Hushovd taking it ahead of Slagter. Vichot, great result for him in 3rd place for Francis de Jeux, 10th on the Tour of the Mediterranean, 9th in the Étoile Bergère, and 12th in the Grand Prix of Marseille. So he has been busy. Samuel Dumoulin, likewise finishing in 4th place, and not disaster for any of those, still very much in the frame overall, because Tour Hushovd will not like day 2. He acknowledged that. He said, "It's we'll see what happens. It's not my kind of race on stage 2, but nonetheless riding in gold for that day." We will take a break and we'll be back with highlights and hopefully a bit more of the finish for stage 2. Stay with us.
Eurosport Player is the multi-screen service of the Eurosport channels. With Eurosport Player, watch Eurosport and Eurosport 2 live on computer, smartphone and tablet through a single subscription. Watch your favourite events through the catch-up service. Also enjoy exclusive content through the bonus channels. Watch up to 7 tennis courts simultaneously and follow your favourite players. Eurosport Player. All sports, all emotions.
Welcome back. Tour of the От Вар. Bit more of grey cloud, but at least it's high. 207 kilometres, I beg your pardon, as well though today. And today will be hard, said Christophe Lemaivel. He says with all those climbs and so many kilometres, 207, it's going to be a beautiful finish, but you have to be strong if you want to be amongst those at the finish. Draguignan. Yes, almost mythical. Genier, he says, very hard. Not much flat, and it's going to be decided by a very small pack, he says. Very different weather as the sea mist rolled in. Brice Fayeux from Soya-Sun, also here. Well, Tour Hushovd, he's got the leader's jersey. They won't try and keep it for him, I shouldn't think, but maybe for Amel Moynard. But then after that, it's a bit wide open. A lot of riders are going to try to be in a good breakaway, and you just got to be there and in a decent place right from the very start. Well, wise words, I think you might say. Team rally here, incidentally. Verandas at Willems towards the front. Not quite sure why, but anyway, they were there. And the mayor, maybe they're local. Cutting the ribbon, and away they went. Bleu, blanc et rouge, indeed. So rolling out on what is bound to be a punishing day. 207 kilometres with some proper climbs along the way. Tour Hushovd in the gold jersey. You can probably see him just dipping in and out of vision a little bit further down. But yes, not a day for him. It will be, if anyone, one of his climbers like Dominic Nertz, Marius Frank, or indeed Amel Moynard, who I think we had a brief word with earlier on. Multiple flags today. It is border country after all, and out of Draguignan. Remember this well from way back in the 90s, where I met a certain Mr. Cadell Evans in 1996 on the mountain bike Tour de France, but proper roads today and at the head of the course. Yes, it wasn't long before we had our breakers. First of the leaders, 5 among them, Albert Timmer of Argus Shimano, Florian Juilloux of Breton Schuller, yeah, also giving it plenty, and Jean-Marc Marino of Soya-Sun, Jose Gonçalves of Pont Marseille also here, and the bouncing form of Thomas Vogler, the unmistakable style. Yeah, victorious here in 2011 at Housewife's favourite since his exploits on the Tour de France, of course. You may remember, finished 4th in 2011 after spending many days in the yellow jersey, and in fact produced heroics up the Galibier. Going back, Cadell Evans it was who dragged him up that mountain. No such help for today for Thomas Vogler, but we'll see how he goes. Anthony Charteau, polka dot jersey in 2009, also here. And Argus Shimano have had a busy start to the season, also showing their hand here. Georges Priedler, who was in that escape, the Austrian, also once again towards the front here. So a lot of work to do on a day such as this, and the leaders heading for the Col de Lang and Flezoche. Yes, proper work, and the camera's loving Tommy Vogler, and why not? Plenty more pictures of him to come, I'm sure, this season. Yes, amazing team, Europcar. They're only a small outfit, but yes, they get the invite to the Tour de France. It's kind of irregular, it's almost compulsory, I think, especially with the exploits that they've had in their past, and as a result they don't have to sort of busy themselves with the wider let's say responsibilities of being on the World Tour, which they're not. So yeah, it kind of works well for Europcar, and Tommy Vogler in particular. You kind of think they're a much bigger team than they actually are, possibly partly due to that success. Likewise Cofidis in their red with their white slash. You'd expect more from them, but the Estonian Rein Taaramäe is here. Yes, winner of a Vuelta stage, and possibly somebody to watch out for on a day such as this. BMC protecting that leader's golden jersey. Thor Hushovd, well, his viral infection that really gave him an awful lot of muscle stress last year seems to be a thing of the past. He started well. I think he's going for the Omloop, something he won in 2009, which is a joy. Good to see him back and functioning properly. So Jérôme Cousin from Europcar in the second group, and they were starting to just break down ever so slightly here. Thomas Vogler, ubiquitous. Hard to get away from him when you're racing in this part of the world. He does a lot of winter training down towards the Mediterranean area. Well, if you're French, why wouldn't you, for goodness sake? Yes, glorious part of the world, if shrouded in cloud on this day. There we are, 10 seconds and 45, just starting to break down ever so slightly. Jérôme Cousin for Europcar doing a proper job up front. And guess who? Thomas Vogler. Yes, again. I think we've realised that Thomas Vogler is indeed part of this course, but yes, not responsible for all of those images, although it's a fine one to view occasionally. Garmin also pushing hard here. Alex Howes, the 24-year-old American, is team leader, and Dave Miller, 35 years of age now, but absolutely no sign of him giving up on cycling. I suspect he may well race at a top level right through to the 40s or lead the late 30s. It'd be good to see him, why not? Laurent Didier leading Radio Shack here with Benny King also on hand. A lot of American presence, incidentally, during this period. Into Draguignan then. The souvenir of Jacques Ayer. Don't know what he was, but he's got a pouch. So the Côte de Tulière is what is facing them, and a proper test up through some of the villages here, and the first ascent of it. We're seeing a little bit more of it later on. As far as the breakaway is concerned, 1 minute and 25 the gap. No times displayed on your screen, which is a little bit of a hindrance, but nonetheless. And the breakaway extending that a little bit further, as the peloton just seemed to lose a bit of heart on the climb. Nice to see that Blanco have got such a strong showing here. Lars Bohm, cyclocross star, sort of suits him, this sort of terrain, is here. Rick Flens is their team leader, and we've mentioned Laurens ten Dam, who yeah, he's once again just growing his lucky stubble by the looks of things. So over the summit, a little bit of respite for the legs. And the Mur de Montarou also just looming large. Pretty tough climbs along the way today, and yeah, some proper tests as well through the sprints, of which there are plenty. So climbing and some quick stuff as well along the way. Tom Jelte-Slagter, incidentally, leading the young riders classification as they came into the second day. Slagter's kind of playing with the big boys these days, doing so with great aplomb. Four-man trio, quartet up the road here. Yeah, so I expected Brice Soyerson. He's kind of dropped into that team, really, but expected him to be a much more major part of the opening day. Wasn't to be. He's kind of saved his legs for this. and they were pacing up, weren't they? Doing it properly. Yannick Martinez also here, and this group kind of fracturing and then coming back together time and time again in this drive up the hill. Saxo Tinkoff. Oh, we mentioned Nicholas Roach, but Robert Kreuziger also here. Took a Giro stage last year. Kreuziger and Michael Rogers, the World Time Trial champion as well. Handy guy to have, although not quite sure about his impact on a day such as today. Maybe just a little bit further up. But Yevgeny Petrov also here, the Russian, and Chris Anker Sorensen. So a quality team being sent here. Dan Frost doing the director sportif job, and essentially Saxo Tinkoff appearing to be working for BMC at this point. Not really forming alliances, it's just that both teams have proper ambitions for the end of such a day. So clean and dry, if a little bit chillier than yesterday. Most of the riders in arm warmers, as you can see. Very few making any kind of changes in that regard. Jonathan Tiernan-Locke for Enduro Racing, defending champion. Bit of a shame for him really that they didn't come back to defend that. Enduro, of course, taking a partner and moving on to the World Tour, and yeah, I don't know whether they think they've got bigger fish to fry, but it would have been nice to see them here, frankly. And see Jonathan, well, defending it, that would have been nice, but not to be. There we are, finally a time check, time gap as well, 2 minutes and 35 back from the head of the course to the peloton. So it's a wear down time really, and just to see how many of these guys would in fact be caught by the end of the day. Some gaps likely on the sort of finish that we're expecting. Alexander Pichot just bouncing out of the saddle, Vogler Stiley, and still Saxo Tinkoff hoping to get something, maybe for Nico Roche. Yeah, twice in the top 10 in the Mediterranean, and Tour de France, he was in the top 12 of that and the Vuelta. Just need that extra little push from Nicholas Roche just to just keep the success rolling within the family. But yes, mostly French teams for Nicholas Roche, and now we've got a proper backup, and on events such as this, expected to shine, and I guess we'll see at the end exactly how brightly that is. These narrow French streets, the crowds turn out in force, as you can see. You almost barely get a car up these. Certainly no passing opportunities, and it sort of thins down for bike riders as well. Might look broad enough to have a go here, but what it essentially does is it makes the shortest line through all of those twists and turns as you go through these little villages and these hamlets, these hameaux up on the mountains. Makes it all the more difficult just to get a clear run by if you did want to make an attack. Everyone's kind of aware of it, so you get this compression effect where the peloton really does stretch out, and it's the likewise for the escape group. They are sort of keeping themselves at least fighting together at the moment, which is good. Possibility of an escape succeeding on a day like today? Ah, it's a long shot. Wearing it is proper climbers out front, and just checking in on some of them. Pierrick Federigo, also here amongst this group, took a Tour de France stage, you may remember, a couple of years ago. Not the Mario door banger, that was Thibaut Pinot, who won into Pour un Treuil, I think it was, with Madio screaming his head off and then not talking to us afterwards. Not quite sure about that, but anyway, now we'll see if he's cheered up in this year's Tour de France, which of course you'll be able to see here on Eurosport. They're absolutely rack full with cycling we are, incidentally. Loic Desviac looked like he was suffering just a little bit on the Mur of Montaroux, but that's what you get for doing things on your own. Nice to see that the Roubaix-Lille Metropole Bright Tangerine is still alive and well. Yes, you're not going to get you're more than likely to escape any sort of road incident wearing that kind of fluorescence. We'll take a break and we'll be back with the run for home on the final day in the От Вар.
What do you do when your club gets a shot at joining the elite of Bundesliga? Which outfit has the drive, the players and the determination? Bundesliga 2, today at 1800, live on Eurosport 2.
Into the game, how would you say?
Yes, it will. Lovely touch over the top. Good save.
And Zambia are champions of Africa.
Messi, 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 Messi.
Absolutely brilliant. And Von still hungry. This is a special victory.
The great Serena Williams.
And across the line, Marco Melandri does the double in Brno. Oh my goodness!
Unbelievable performance.
What about that for a finish there?
That is incredible.
Ali Carter.
Wow!
Oh, what a shot.
The atmosphere rising. Touchdown!
Just love that.
All sports, all emotions, 2013 on Eurosport 2.
Il y a aussi le col de Mons qui arrive à mi-parcours.
Well, this is Benjamin Giraud saying the climb of Mons, which is around about mid-race, highest point of the race. And I think they're going to be riders in difficulties on this climb. Toughest climb of the month, he says. And it's not going to be that selective because it's early in the race, but it's too far from the arrival to sort out such a selection. But it's certainly going to leave some riders with a deficit. Well, that's true enough. And there's been some rain up here as well. A little bit of it just being picked out on the camera lens. Nothing serious, no running water or any of that kind of thing, but it has left a little bit of moisture on the road, and you've got to be careful when you come off these little kind of trials, as you will, that things don't go wrong. Maybe it's just snow melt. You can see there's a little bit of it left in this part of the world. Still very, very good skiing conditions, incidentally, further up in the Alps, but this is the runoff zone. Not close to any of those gullies and aquifers, thank goodness, but as we get high up here, it sort of tells you exactly what they're sort of experiencing along the way today. Yeah, proper climbing is the answer. And looks like a gear issue. Didn't look like a puncture, but Brice Fear, in feed, it was a puncture for Brice, as the rest of them head off for the Col de Mons. So lone riders out there, but Daniel Oss and Lars Bohm also deciding that they may well join the party here. Off the front, Saxo Tinkoff doing a proper job, almost blanket across the road. Not really sure whether that's tactical to stop anyone making the leap here, but out at the head of the course, our brave escapees still doing a proper job and kind of rolling together as well. Hubert Dupont, Guillaume Bonafont, just having a look at him, and two men from Blanco as well. Lars Bohm, one of those. Daniel Oss for BMC. Yes, recently in Cycle Sport, I think he was cross-linked with Mick Jagger. When he does take that helmet off at the end of the day, his hair does generally tend to spring into a bubble. Not that I remember Mick Jagger looking like that at all, but anyway, there you go. We make the analogy, or report it. Out with Jérôme Cousin at the rear of this group, and time to take the colder weather gear off then and start, well, time trialling yourself, you might say. There is Daniel Oss for BMC, and joined by Lars Bohm for Blanco. Now these guys can work well together, and it's almost like a different pace about them, as you can see. Almost cursory glance at the camera there, just to say what do you want? We're doing our best, and he is. Lars Bohm, cyclo-crosser. I mentioned that earlier on. Not matching that kind of terrain, but with a bit of climbing and a bit of rough stuff. Cyclocross is exactly what you kind of need, that mentality, especially if it does get feisty towards the end today. As for Daniel Oss, much more of a smoother road racer. And BMC, one of the moneybags teams out there. The same can't be said for Blanco, really. That team, you may or may not know, sort of the remnant, if you like, of Rabobank, who just withdrawn or taken a back step, given them a year really with continued funding. But Blanco, it doesn't mean white really, I think it means blank sponsorship, waiting for another team to pick them up. And with some real quality like Ten Dam and Lars Bohm, you certainly hope that some team does just that. There we are, brief back to the peloton, 4 minutes and 20. And these two, well, a class apart. Now, you might say, if it wasn't for the likes of the Mur de Fayence, they'd probably have a chance. Or maybe they will. Two men together, though, with such a distance, not a given, that's for sure. Up the Fayence then. A lot of riding still to be done. And the others, the likes of Moynard and Ten Dam, such a scrapper for Blanco. Maybe Lars Bohm in need of company, and the likes of Ten Dam. Remember his face plant on the Tour de France a couple of years ago. Yes, he's a feisty character. Second only to Hugeland, I think, on that particular tour, and you know all about that. So Pierrick Federigo, Francis Dejeux also in the chases, as is Jean-Marc Bidot from Breton Sèche Environment. Up the Fayence then. Well, a crowd a little bit thinner on the ground in this part of the world. It's yeah, the higher you get, the more thinned out the populace. Into town then. And the gap between the leaders and the peloton just starting to ebb ever so slightly. Still the Fayence, and a real churn, as you can see. And with quality athletes such as this, the camera really doesn't do it justice. I always say, try and look at those standing at the roadside and see what angle they're sort of standing at, and you get a sort of a hint as to just how steep this is. They were talking around about 15% in parts. Certainly a bit of a drag, and almost jogging pace, even for me. Through town, bit of a broken surface here, thankfully dry-ish, so road repairs and overbanding looking a bit shiny and threatening, but certainly not ice. And the odd spot of moisture on the lens, yeah, they won't be that bothered about that. And almost cold weather gear not required at a point like this. Ten Dam with leg warmers on, a Dutchman with leg warmers. Yes, churning away. Proper efforts from Bonafond as well, dragging himself up here. And good that Amel Moynard, proper climber here for BMC, is also on hand. No thought of helping out Thor Hushovd. He got the jersey yesterday, but, well, this definitely not his kind of day. Certainly not on the bounce back after his difficult season last year. So the churn goes on. And you can see from the attitude of the cars, they just make it over the ridge there. This is a proper test. Appreciative crowd here. Nice to see cycling back and on display. And just as we watch the big churn going on in number 166, Desriac, who animated it, you just saw Laurent Didier, who was leading the Radio Shack Leopard Challenge here. There was word that we might have a Schleck here, but didn't work out. Jens got ill, I understand, on Schleck. Jens Vogt, 41 years of age, Mr. Shut Up Legs. He's actually got that written, incidentally, on his bicycle. Yeah, certainly is. And at 41, yeah, still a great part of the Radio Shack Leopard, and indeed the World Tour, which is good to see. Laurent Didier, the Luxembourg champion, resplendent in blue, incidentally, if you're wondering why. So the push on continues, and the peloton, well, a little bit of speed about them, and starting as well to kind of share responsibilities in dragging those boys back out front. Tall order, absolutely, and Tinkoff have just done so much work throughout, and at last Movistar also joining the fun. Spinning away, Lars Bohm. Likewise though, the chasers. Christoph Jules Jensen, the big Dane, well, medium-sized Dane, yes, on the nose of the peloton for Saxo Tinkoff. So the hill's rising up yet again. More climbing still to be had. A real leg sapper of a day. And these guys, well, still rolling with their responsibilities. Two from Blanco, as you see. Tendam and Bohm. Well, they may have been separated on the climb, but all back together right now. Pierrick Fedrigo of Tour de France, stage-winning Palmares, also in the mix, as we mentioned. And Guillaume Bonafont, who seemed to be just stretched on the climb there for a big man. Maybe that's the reason why. Tendam, open-mouthed, dead centre of your screen here in that by now getting familiar Blanco outfit. Do like it, incidentally, but couldn't be further away from the orange and purple of Rabobank, who are still apparently funding ladies cycling, but kind of drifted away from the men because of all the issues that cycling faced last year. The peloton on a proper charge here, and strung out at pace. That's the way you want to be, and just hope there's a decent descender in front of you on some turns such as that. So who's your money on? Well, possibly that this group might make it with the likes of Tendam. Lots of us thinking that may well happen. But yeah, early season, hard to know just how much freshness remains in the legs and just how effective winter training has been. Yeah, a lot of Middle Eastern racing taking part this year, and becoming a solid part of the calendar as well. Sort of get away from it all, including the crowds, I might add, and yeah, get your legs back in. You just saw a brief look there of the leader's jersey on the back of Tor Ushoff, so he stayed in touch, but yeah, how much further would he be? Rudy Kowalski, almost as small as Samuel Dumoulin, I've just noticed. Not overly familiar with Kowalski, one of the young riders. He's a neo-pro for Roubaix Lille Metropole in their orange liveried jersey. I do like Sawyer Sun. They've the ones carrying the #1 here, Julien Alferez, is indeed graced with that number. And BMC, a couple of their riders up at the front as well. And Danny Ossa, we've mentioned, 3:25, the peloton back to these boys. Kind of possible, but, well, by no means certain. Well, we'll take ourselves a break in just a few moments' time, and then we'll have the run in to the line. Reminding that yesterday it was Tor Ushoff that took the victory ahead of Tom Jelte-Slachter for Blanco. A couple of Blanco riders up here. Arthur Vichot and Francis Desjeux, a team that seemed to be on something of a renaissance after a fantastic Tour de France last year, and indeed ran well throughout the season. Samuel Dumoulin in 4th place with AG2R, and in fact yesterday the top 53 riders all with the same time, so potentially an awful lot of changes. It may well come to count back and positional finishing if a number of riders finish with the same time, so we could have some today who achieve that feat. Samuel Dumoulin, he really is. I said Kowalski was approaching his size, but you just saw him on the back of that AG2R train. He really is a pocket rocket, is he not? So we'll take ourselves that break, and then we'll be back with the final part as we head for the grand finale of this year's От Вар. Stay with us.
Absolutely there. That is incredible.
Ali Carter!
Wow!
Oh, what a shot!
The atmosphere rising.
Touchdown! Absolutely sensational!
Just love that.
All sports, all emotions. 2013 on Eurosport 2.
Funny old game, snooker. It's a game that can go either way, turning quickly from misery to joy, where success requires special vision and a very cool head. Without them, the wheels too easily fall off. Haiku World Open starts Monday morning, live on Eurosport 2.
Out front, Alexander Pichot. Also here, Sebastian Reichenbach. First time I've seen I Am, incidentally, at the back. It's a group between the leaders, who we're looking at right now, and indeed the main chasing peloton. We'll catch them in just a few moments' time. Romain Bacon is also there from Big Mat Ober 93. First look at that jersey for you today as well. Heading for the second passage of the finish line, incidentally. So they get a preview, and so do we. Just rolling at the back, no great sense of urgency. They've got to sort of start thinking about it, though, along the way. Francesco Ventoso, wearing his Spanish flag proudly on the back of his Movistar jersey. And here are that intermediate group we were mentioning a few moments ago. Pichot from Team Europe Car, Sebastian Reichenbach from I Am, and Romain Bacon from Big Mat Ober 93. Still Tor Ushoft spinning away. BMC and Saxo Tinkoff still the men who are doing most of the work out front. And a little call for a bottle here. Not sure whether Bacon was becking at the camera looking for sustenance, or indeed telling the camera to drift back just a little bit, give me some space. Some of the younger riders here, incidentally, of which Romain Bacon is one of them, just not, how can I put this, not overly comfortable with motorcycles being in close attendance, because frankly they're not used to it. Suddenly they come here and play with the big boys, then can be a bit of a distraction, but got to get used to it. It's about sponsorship, and without the cameras there is no sponsorship, essentially. So yes, when you do see them getting a little bit upset, we kind of get a bit upset as well as a result. Still time for these guys to make an impact, but they don't seem to be that paced up, unlike the main chargers here, as you can see. Big Mat Ober in their grey, that's Breton Environment in the grey and black, and the green and white of Sawyer Sun towards the front as well. Francis de Jeux just easing off a little bit. I think some work being done for them, and Laurent Didier saw looking reasonably feisty after the climbs early on. Looked like there may be a bit of a breaker. And nice to see the slightly loony fans just keeping themselves back in the parking bay. A proper way to do it, as opposed to running alongside and trying to get yourself on telly and causing all kinds of problems for the riders. That's the first time I've whinged about that this year. It won't be the last. So the rain coming down, and that kind of changes the profile for a lot of riders, especially those in the intermediate here, stuck in no man's land. Pichot, Reichenbach, the Swiss, and Bacon of Big Mat Ober. That can be a bit of a heartbreaker, especially as it seems that these guys have ridden through it and got away with it. A lot of kick up on the lens here, unless it is just starting to peter down a little. Well, the plane trees welcoming them across the finish line here. So your first view of it on the circuit then, familiar stadium announcer. So there, the Flamme Rouge effectively with the last kilometre for everyone else, and as you can see, the gap, well, tumbled. Now being heading off towards the 4-minute mark, but not a bit of it now. So time for a chat with some of the great and good. Genier saying, I remember last year on Sunday we climbed the Col de Tulier and it was very, very twitchy. Nervous almost, and we shot up it very quickly, and that's where the difference was made. Benjamin Giraud from Le Pont Marseille saying, yeah, the key point of the race, even if the climb is not so long, I remember we did it a couple of years ago, and it's I think it's only the last 2 kilometers that are very, very steep. 2 years ago, that is where the race was decided. Likewise here, Pierrick Federico, Francis de Jeux saying the Tulier at the end. It's true that for the first race of the year, 207 kilometers, you know, if there is a battle on the day, it's between those who've got good legs and those who are still getting over their winter training. Depends on how you respond to your own training, frankly. A lot of riders kind of fly off the back of their training. They put in some solid hours throughout, and then they either find themselves actually continuing with the good form or indeed falling back just a little bit, having taken too much out of themselves, but then regain the form later on. It's a hard one to call, and some riders, well, it's different for some as it is to others. Just respond differently to the ardours of doing it on your own in the winter time. Pace up then, second climb up the Côte de Tuileries, and this is where it really starts to bite. And some of those riders in the breakaway well and truly within sight now. Well, quality will out, and 5 riders managed to push off the nose as others were just fading ever so slightly. And indeed 6 at that point. The pace of Saxo Tinkoff really have kind of burnt themselves on this day. Haven't caught sight of Nicolas Roche just yet, but I'm sure some of you have. And the real grind starting. Daniel Oss, Lars Bohm, Laurens ten Dam, Federico and Vacho out there out front. And here they are. And proper drive here by these guys. Federico in the green jersey here, and Vichot for Francis de Jeux, beg your pardon. Third on day one, Vichot, and in that green jersey, carrying that one, Ushoft in gold, of course, and possibly one to watch, especially after he did so well on that opening stage, finished in 3rd place. And so if he finishes well on this day, then it's possibly going to be his, but who knows. Daniel Oss is also here, just seeing where Oss's position was yesterday, way down the order, although good of time as well. Who else? Bohm, just checking on him as well in the overall. Well, if these guys come in together, it's going to be Vichot's race. Simple as that. Laurens ten Dam, no, also finishing behind Vichot yesterday. It was only Jelte Schlachter and Thor Ushoft who finished in front of him. So this is a great opportunity for the Francis de Jeux rider. We'll see. So what about this run in then? Well, we've talked about the test that they've had over that climb. More to come. Final sprint approaching though, and they've done the proper work on the day, and indeed the final kilometre right now. So who's your money on? Blanco's Lars Bohm just drifts off, tries to get a little bit of respite, doesn't want to do too much work too early. Federico is here for Francis de Jeux. Vichot in the green jersey, as we've mentioned, and it is Federico on the nose at the moment. Right at the back is Laurens ten Dam, just tracking Daniel Oss in his red BMC jersey here as well. Ten Dam out of the frame just for the time being. Pace is up, they're running out of time here, and suddenly it's lit up, and it's going to be all about Blanco here, and Lars Bohm's going to take it all the way to the line. Arthur Vichot also getting involved here. Well, ten Dam takes this, but Vichot has won the title, and he knows it. Bobs his head with delight there. Well, third place yesterday for Visho, second today, finishing just ahead of Daniel Oss, Tendam and Federico. And what about the remainders? Well, it's the golden jersey of Tor Ushoft, who just clips the line ahead of Samuel Dumoulin of AG2R.
When we did the last climb with 10K to go, the guy who won the overall classification, he came with us, and Pedrigo went full on the front, and I was strong in the wheel, and straight away I knew if we were gonna stay in front, my sprint is the best of the group. So yeah, you never know, but the sprint was really good. Today the goal was to be in the break and to be as long as possible in the break, and it worked out. I won, so I'm really happy, and I had a really nice day on the bike. The first attack of me was in a downhill on the big climb, and I was with Daniel Oss alone in the front, and was good. And afterwards we had some people coming back, and it was a really nice day.
Stage winner in Lars Bohm. Good result for him, even better one you might say for Arthur Vichot. Did not win the day, didn't win yesterday, but 2 podiums essentially have put the man top of the podium, top of the pile, and he takes it. Arthur Vichot is our champion here in the От Вар. 2 solid days of racing, top of the season, and one for the men who'll feature in the mountains. I'd like to see a bit more of this show as well. There it is, Lars Bohm finishing in second place ahead of Tendam, Federico and Ushoft, courtesy of his efforts late on, finishing 5th. It's a great race for me to take this one, he says, because I've won one of the best races in France at the start of the season. It's a very difficult course, it's a high level of riders, and I'm very happy with my victory, he says. It's my first race with stages, even though there are just 2 of them. I was relieved to see Vichot come back, and that's what's pushed me to make the effort today. Pierrick is really exceptional, says Vichot. Discreet in the pack. We all appreciate him, and you know, he gives it all for a young kid, and it's great. It is superb as well. Well, glad to have had you along for the ride. Nice to catch up with the От Вар. Don't forget, we've got so much cycling on Eurosport this season that you'll be hard pushed to find better coverage anywhere else on the planet. Make sure that you join us whenever there's a race on. Just check when the timings are going to be. It's likely to be on Eurosport. I'm Carlton Kirby. Thank you so much for your company. The От Вар has its champion, and we finally have to bid you farewell.
Bundesliga's celebrating 50 years of German football, and it looks like being a golden year for Bayern Munich as they close in on the title. But rivals can't be discounted. They've got the firepower to move up the table and lay down a striking challenge. Eurosport 2 has outstanding coverage with 5 live games every match weekend. Bundesliga Day 23 tonight. Freiburg Eintracht Frankfurt at 2000 live on Eurosport 2.
Funny old game, snooker. It's a game that can go either way, turning quickly from misery to joy, where success requires special vision and a very cool head. Without them, the wheels too easily fall off. Haiku World Open starts Monday morning, live on Eurosport 2.
Von still hungry.
What a finish! The great Serena Williams.
Oh my Lord!
What about that for a finish there? That is incredible.
Ali Carter.
The atmosphere rising.
Touchdown!
Absolutely sensational!
Just love that.
All sports, all emotions. 2013 on Eurosport 2.
Hello and welcome to highlights of the Tour of Langkawi. This event that's been going since the mid-90s, a highlight now on the UCI Asia Tour calendar. 22 teams set to participate with 31 nations represented. Well, Tour of Langkawi with some of Asia and the world's top riders. Andrea Guardini has been riding for Fantini Vini in the last few years. He's now moved on to Astana and has a team to support him in the search of yet more stage victories. Well, stage one of the 2013 Tour, 162.7 kilometres from Kangar to Kulim. And right at the start, we had a breakaway. 3 riders away very, very quickly indeed. And there they are, OCBC Bank of Singapore, heavily represented. And of course, those looking for stage wins, including mentioned Guardini already, record holder for stage wins here. A few intermediate sprints along the way. And they will be picked up pretty quickly by our breakaway riders. And the red at the front, 191, is Wang Meiyin of China, running for the Hexiang cycling team. He took the first points alongside Shinchi Fukushima of Nippo de Rosa, and of course OCBC Singapore's Ho Jurong. So that was your 1, 2, 3 at the first sprint in Jitra. Well, lovely conditions for the moment. We have had serious downpours at this time of year in the last few years on this Tour of Langkawi, but it was always an event that the locals love to buy into. Well, Asian cycling very much on the up. Man representing that, Wang Meiyin, who has ridden for a Malaysian team before, so he knows the roads well. But holding out was going to be very, very difficult. All road stages, by the way, over the course of the 10 stages of this Tour of Langkawi. No time trialling here, and a lot of sprinting to be done. And there's more sprinting to be done in the last 50 metres here of this second sprint finish. Quite obvious what the objective of Wang Meiyin was for stage 1, surely to try and pick up some points for the sprint jersey. Well, Team Europcar are here as well as one of the pro-continental teams. 5 Pro Tour teams here. Garmin Sharp, Astana, as we've mentioned already. Orica Green Edge, of course, with its geographical location, a very, very important race for the Australian team. Blanco Pro Cycling, now, of course, the new name for Rabobank, and Omega Pharma Quickstep with their young British fastman Andrew Fenn. We're looking at Shinji Fukushima of Japan. So important for these guys to work together. King of the Mountains coming up a little later on. Just a 4th category climb, only up to around 80 metres or so. Nothing more than a little kick in the road. That at 116 kilometres. Another proton sprint, and guess who it was won by? Yes, Wang Meiyin, firmly putting himself in the top of the points at Gwar. Peloton taking their time. Gap was around about 10 minutes as its maximum. And the usual suspects controlling things. Jos van Enden doing his best job at the front to try and protect the Rabobank sprinter, who was Theo Bos. Already had a good result in the Volta Algarve in Portugal last week. We saw, of course, that on Eurosport. And he was second in От Вар as well, as I'm sure you've just seen. Quick transfer to Asia and looking to get his first win in this part of the world for 2013. Well, Astana with their Central Asian position, also a very, very big team. And a team who we've just seen there who enjoy this race very much is Androni, as the gap now was down to 5 minutes. And Androni have taken 3 out of the last 4 GC wins here. But of course, they usually bring their big sprinter Ferrari. He has since moved on in the winter. So the breakaway, looking for that King of the Mountains climb. Mechanical fault, though, on the way for Shinji Fukushima, which meant that the points would be fought up right at the top of the road. And it was the strongest rider on the day in the breakaway, yet again, who would take those points. Mei Ying Wong storming ahead pretty quickly of Ho Junrong. Singaporean rider shaking his head as he could not keep pace. So it's the same order as we've seen in the majority of the sprints. Fukushima left to rue his mechanical problem. Well, in the meantime, Fukushima had since hit the deck, as you can see. Tiring under the heat. Not just the sun, of course, it is extremely humid at just about every point in the year on Malaysian soil. As we take a look at Yashiro Nakajima of Aizen Racing Team. Astana with their 6-man team in support of Andrea Guardini. The likes of Kasheshkin, Lutsenko, Bazaev and Jachenko all supporting the Italian sprinter. Italian, the only non-Kazakh in the team. It'll be interesting to see when we get to the sprints how much these reduced teams of 6 will affect things. Not as much strength in the lead out as the gap is down to 1 minute and 3 seconds. So the peloton preparing themselves. Looks as though the breakaway has run out of steam and some pretty feather pedaling there. They move to one side and with just around 10 kilometers to go, it's time to be swallowed up. So Wesley Sulzberger on the front for Orica Green Edge. Of course, their protected sprinter here is Aidis Kropis, but also some powerful and experienced riders, the likes of Alan Davis as well, and Luke Durbridge, Turbo the Turbo. All about another Aussie though, and another team in his Blanco Cycling. Former record holder of stage wins here, Graham Brown. Expect him to be trying to lead out Theo Boss today though. There's Bert Grafs as well of Omega Pharma Quickstep. East German born, big time trialer, so important in the trains a few years ago for Mark Cavendish, and he might well be in that sort of work role again this year with Cav moving over to Omega Pharma Quickstep, joining his former Team High Road teammate. Get a look at Nakajima, still happy to sit on the front. The sprinters behind, marshalling their troops. Not a particularly technical run-in. The roads are quite wide on the way in most of these UCI Asia Tour races. This, the biggest of them. 5Ks to go, and you can see the pace now picking up. Garmin Shop starting to get interested as well. 6 riders for them: Fernandez, Haas, Freda, Fairley, Stetina and Van Hoff. And it's going to be difficult for Francesco Chicchi, alongside his Vini Fantini team, to try and put something together. Remember, Chicchi now the leader, not the lead-out man. A wonderful wash of colour as we go into the centre of Kulim. And it's been almost 4 hours in the saddle, and it's time to open things up. Graham Brown there in the front, the first Blanco jersey that you can see. Right behind him is the main man himself. One last turn to go, a big swing to the right, and then it will be Theo Boss from behind the wheel of Graham Brown. United Healthcare have presence behind as well. 500 metres to go. Looks as though at the moment that the problem is for Astana that it's isolation for Guardini. It's an early lead out, dearie me. 250 metres to go. He might have gone a little early here, Theo Boss, but he's shown good early season form. And he has gone early. That is a wonderful sprint from Theo Boss. Saw his opportunity, turned on the power with more than 200 metres to go. That was a comfortable winner in the end, ahead of what I think was Brian Coccao, the young French sprinter of Team Europe car. Guardini not in the top two, just about sneaking in third place, and Garmin's still von Hoff in fourth. Jakob Keel of United Healthcare was the man we saw in fifth. Antoine Manan is the best Asian placed rider. So after 4 hours and 7 seconds, Theo Bos is the leader of the general classification. Time bonuses meant that Wong is in second place. Theo Bos winning those 15 points winning the stage, but Wong picking up all of the sprint competition points before then. And this is how the King of the Mountains looks after stage one. Wong with 4 points on that as well. A very, very good day for the Chinese rider. Well, the best Asian rider overall. No prizes for guessing who that is, with Wong at the top. Let's go and hear from today's winner, though. What a season it's been so far in its early days for Theo Bos.
Went early, I thought it was still a kilo to go. And then I look up, I saw 500 meters, and we took the last two corners in front. And he went really fast. I couldn't go any faster, and then I looked back. We saw we had a small gap, and I went early. I think you saw it from the breakaway. They went early, and directly they make a big gap. And okay, we start riding to close the gap, and we had a good pace, but still the gap was getting bigger. And then at the end, we were going really slow, and we were catching them. They totally blew up, I think, because of the heat. So yeah, that's different racing than in Europe. Yeah, I think it will be difficult to do that. I saw the guys were strong, and all the sprinters were really motivated to have a good result here. And today, luckily, everything went to us, and yeah, we were having a good team, and yeah, we made it happen. But it's going to be difficult to continue. I think every race is the same thing. So yeah, we have to try and see every race is a new one, and of course it would be nice, but I'm sure there will be other sprinters winning here as well.
So other opportunities yet to come. Sedang to Kuala Kangsar will be stage two, a short one, in fact just about the second shortest of the whole tour. 117.8 kilometers. For the moment though, Theo Bos is the winner of stage one of 2013's Tour de Langkawi. Second win of the season for the Dutchman. A great start on the road for Blanco Pro Cycling, who had to go through so many trials and tribulations throughout the winter. Guardini in the light blue jersey. We're looking for more though, and a great surprise to see Brian Coccao there. Theo Bos takes the glory on stage one. Plenty more to come though on Eurosport from the Tour de Langkawi. Remember to join us tomorrow. We'll be back with stage two.
Into the game, how would you say? Yes, it will. Lovely touch over the top. Good save. And Zambia are champions of Africa. Messi, 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 Messi. Oh, absolutely brilliant. And Von still hungry. Oh, what a finish. This is a special victory.
The great Serena Williams.
And across the line, Marco Melandri does the double in Brno.
Oh my goodness. Unbelievable performance. What about that for a finish there? That is incredible.
Ali Carter.
Wow. Oh, what a shot.
The atmosphere rising.
Touchdown.
Love that.
All sports, all emotions. 2013 on Eurosport 2. Bundesliga's celebrating 50 years of German football, and it looks like being a golden year for Bayern Munich, as they close in on the title. But rivals can't be discounted. They've got the firepower to move up the table and lay down a striking challenge. Eurosport 2 has outstanding coverage with 5 live games every match weekend. Bundesliga Day 23 tonight. Freiburg Eintracht Frankfurt at 2000 live on Eurosport 2.
Welcome back to Terenzano and our coverage of the FIM Fogo Italian Speedway Grand Prix. Every rider has now completed 3 rides apiece. These are the latest standings in the World Championship. This round 8, of course, of 12. Andreas Jonsson holding 8th place right now. It's a battle for the top 8 to secure a place automatically, of course, in next year's Grand Prix series. It's where everybody wants and needs to be. We're up to heat 13, and Andreas Jonsson, the man who occupies that place right now, he is in this race in a distinctive red and yellow outfit. Nicky Peterson's here as well, needing points if he's going to hang on to the coattails of series leader Greg Hancock. Here's the lineup. Nicky Peterson off the inside in red. Martin Vakulik, the brilliant Slovakian, off gate number 2, rider number 19. Tomáš Golov goes off gate number 3, needing points here. And Andreas Jonsson off the outside. On paper, a tough race. Very difficult. Chris Holder is looking over the fence, making sure that maybe he can pick something up when he's watching this race. Difficult to get out of that start. Craig Ackroyd, the referee, raises the tapes, and who's going to emerge into that first turn? Woof! Vakulik off gate number 2 in blue. Superb start from Martin Vakulik. Nicky Peterson in second place. Here comes Golov up the inside. Ooh, late braking manoeuvre that was just blocked off there by Peterson. As he goes high, wide and handsome, does that give him the extra drive? Golov going the shorter route, and he gets there first. So Tomáš Golov, the 2010 world champion, the bony, hard pole just now. Ooh, Nicky Peterson just caught something there. For a moment, he turned into 1930s speedway style with a trailing leg, and he's getting pressed now by Andreas Jonsson in yellow. At the front, Vakulik having a storming ride, and at the back,